because I know this is the final week in the regular season, and there's a lot of playoff berths on the line if you're in a head-to-head league, and it's, what do you call it? And you can tell that a lot of people are going to, be looking at their lineups and going, is this the right one? Did I make a mistake? Second, third, fourth, fifth guess. It's a beautiful time of year. And then the following week when the playoffs start, it gets even better. However, do you know what also goes well with football?
My empty bottle?
No, a full bottle of really good beer.
You may not always drink hard cider, but when you do, make your choice. Mixed berry apple cider. Prepare yourself. DeWalt Brewing Company.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. This podcast is brought to you by DeWalt Brewing Company, led by the great Christopher DeWalt, based out of Reading, Pennsylvania. Trust me, you will not be disappointed if this is available in your area. It is available in the Northeast, and I do believe it's starting to work its way down south towards you right now, Mr. Glukov. So I can pretty much tell you, though, that the DeWalt Brewing Company is a name that you're definitely going to want to follow, especially if you love beer.
Mr. DeWalt, I need your help. I have a half-empty bottle that's spilled everywhere. I need replacements. Replace my beer.
Anyway, we're going into our next segment right now, and we're going to be talking some NBA, ladies and gentlemen. That's right, basketball. And joining us right now is the host of the All Weather Fans podcast, the host of Basketball Breakdown, and the host of the Restricted Area podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, a very good friend of mine, Mr. Will Reeve Jr. Will, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing all right. How you doing?
Doing very well. So, we're bringing you on because you happen to be one of the masters of your domain when it comes to talking basketball. Let's get things started right off the bat. The big announcement this week: Kobe Bryant announcing his retirement. You know, very sad day in Lakerland. Very sad day for the NBA because nobody expected. People knew it was probably coming, but they didn't expect it to be this year. I know you're a big-time Laker fan, and you followed Kobe's career since day one. Just want to get your thoughts on Kobe Bryant's announcement. And where do you have him ranked, not only just for all-time Lakers, but all-time in the NBA?
Well, I don't know what's sadder, his announcement or watching him play basketball the way he's playing right now, to be honest with you. As somebody who's followed Kobe for his entire career, this version of Kobe Bryant, it's hard to watch. Right now, there's only one player in the history of the NBA who has shot worse as a rotational player at the end of the year, and his name was Woody Salisbury in 1960-61. And, you don't know him, and there's a reason for that. Now, he did play for 7 teams, so somebody kept wanting this guy, but this guy shot 29.9%. That's the only player in the history of the NBA that's ever shot worse than what Kobe Bryant's shooting right now. So while there was a little bit of, an era is coming to end, and it made me feel a little bit old because it kind of makes you realize, because I kind of judge time a little bit by sports, because when you're a sports addict like I am, you can't help but do that. Kobe's career coming to an end, as the kids of the 90s, I grew up in the 90s, it kind of cements that, time that's passing. But, where I have Kobe ranked all time, we did for Hoops Critic, HC Hot 50 about 2 months ago, I think it was. We did a ranking of the 50 top NBA players, and I had Kobe at 6. And I think it's pretty good to where I had Tim Duncan at 5. And as a Lakers fan, it was hard not to put Kobe a little bit higher. But, Tim Duncan's still active. He's still, doing a lot of things out there productively on the floor. He may even play again next year. Who knows? The Spurs might win another championship or two. So I couldn't just sneak Kobe in front of Timmy. But I have him at 6, which is a pretty good ranking, for Kobe. And watching Kobe play this version of basketball is tough. My feeling on his announcement was, relief, because I knew that it was hard for him to play the way he's playing, and he admitted it. At the presser, he even spoke about it. He said, I've worked my ass off to really not play like crap, and yet I'm still playing like crap. But he basically said, I want you to know that I've been working really hard, so I'm not playing like this. He just doesn't have it anymore. So there was the relief that we don't have to listen to all the critics hammer him so much anymore. because he is accepting where he's at, and he's stepping away probably a year or two too late. But there's also a little bit of sadness as well, too, because, an era is coming to an end.
Well, I got to tell you, when I look at Kobe Bryant, and following his career since day one, I mean, this is a guy whose will to win was, I think, second behind Michael Jordan. I mean, this is a guy that was the ultimate student of the game. I think Kobe also gets a bad rap because you've heard it many times, especially from fans that are just complete haters and everything like that. He's selfish. He's not the best teammate. He ran Shaq out of town. Free agents.
I don't really know about that.
Well, I'm just saying. This is what people are saying. On me personally, I appreciated the way that he played basketball. I appreciated his will to win. I appreciated how hard he worked at his craft. What I don't appreciate is when you know your time is up, yet you continue to try and live off, live off your name. In the last 3 years, Kobe Bryant, let's be honest, injury, ineffectiveness. I mean, some spots of the greatness come out, but I think this was the proper thing for him to do, is to go out. As a Laker, I have him third all time behind Magic Johnson and Jerry West. Yes, I am putting him ahead of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar because to me, when I think of Kareem, his best years to me were in Milwaukee. But excuse me. But all time, I go through it in my brain, and I have him top 15, probably 11 or 12. I can think of 10 names off the top of my head that I can put ahead of Kobe Bryant. And a lot of people it's very, very, very subjective. It's only my opinion, but he's definitely in the pantheon of all-time greats. I just can't put him in the top 10 because I can rattle off 10 names and people will be like, well, you got a good point. So, but again, it's that's like an argument that will go on forever and ever and ever when it comes to Kobe Bryant.
17-time All-Star, 5-time champion, 2-time Finals MVP, one of only 4 players to ever be a 5-time champion and a 2-time Finals MVP. He's the only guy to have 17 All-Stars, only guy to play 20-plus years. And going back to your point you made earlier about him living off of his name, I agree with you to some extent. The thing about Kobe is what made him great for so long was his stubbornness and his unbelievable drive to push through any obstacle, whether it be an injury. He played through all kinds of injuries through his youth, whether it be an opponent, whether it be his own game and being able to make it better. But what he didn't do, or what he hasn't done these last 2 or 3 years, is do what Dirk Nowitzki and what Tim Duncan has done, which is accept a lesser role. It's going to benefit the team and modify his style of play so that he can be a little bit more efficient. And he has continued to take that same approach that made him so great for so long, and now it's hurting him because he's so stubborn. He's still trying to play the game like he played it when he was 27 years old. But like I said, it's sad to watch because he can't get around anybody, and he's got no elevation. To your other point, about him being outside of the top 10, when there's only 4 guys, and those other 3 guys are Hall of Famers, the best names you can probably guess who they are, that have 5 championships and 2 Finals MVPs. I cannot say he's not a top 10 player. Now, I wish he was more efficient as a shooter, but when you look at the overall accomplishments, I can't agree with you putting him outside of the top 10. But I am kind of a Lakers homer too, so there's a little bit of that bias as well.
It's totally understandable. Trust me. I think everybody has everybody tries to be objective when they're on air, but when they're a guest or a fan or anything like that, the homer has to come out. You should have heard me during the World Series. Trust me, it wasn't pretty.
It was very ugly.
Yeah, it got really ugly. But one last thing about Kobe before we move on to the next to the next question. There has been chatter that the 2016 Olympics are coming around. There are some people out there that think that Kobe may get a spot on the Olympic team. And people are bringing up 1992, Larry Bird. Everybody remembers, his back injury. when he hardly practiced. He was always laying on the floor and everything like that. And when he played for maybe 10, 15 minutes. They thought that Larry Bird got it, because of his overall background and work. You also talk about Magic Johnson, who retired, I believe, who retired in 91, was out of the NBA, yet got a spot in 92. Pretty much was one of the MVPs of the 92 team. But under certain circumstances, he wasn't a player in the NBA. So that brings me now. Here we are, 24 years later, and now we got the subject of Kobe Bryant comes up. Do you think Kobe deserves a spot on the Olympic team based on past accomplishments, or do you think just give it to the best available 12 players and let them go to Rio and play there?
Well, Kobe himself said at the presser, they asked him that direct question. They said, well, what about the 2016 Olympics? Is that something that's still on your mind? And his immediate answer was the word no. And then he backed it up with, after he said no, he paused for a second and he said, well, I would be honored to play with those guys and, go through that experience one last time. But he sounded resigned to the fact that, that's not going to happen. And no, I don't think it should happen. There's too many backcourt. Look how many good two guards and that there are and wings that are in the league right now, because Kobe's playing small forward this year. Everybody's going to small ball, so our really positions when it comes to a wing's a wing now. But there's so many good wings that, you could list off at least, just about every two guard's better than Kobe Bryant right now. I just mentioned that there's only one guy in the history of the NBA that's shot worse than Kobe's shooting right now. So if he doesn't drastically improve his game, I don't think he should get in off of merit. I don't think he really wants to get in off of merit. Now, the All-Star game, that's a different story because, that's for the fans. The fans vote you in. If Kobe Bryant gets voted in, yes, I think he should play in the All-Star game because that's going to be it for him. It's a last hurrah. It's for the fans. I get that. But the Olympics, no, that's competition. That's for our country, and Kobe says he can't play the game of basketball good enough to be on the Olympic team anymore.
I tend to agree with you because a lot of people there are some people that are saying he should get there on merit. They should if they did it for Larry Bird, they should do it for Kobe Bryant. But to be honest with you, I just can't see it. I honestly just don't see it happening. I think the best 12 players will be representing our country. And, I don't think they're going to give a spot to an aging player who honestly, within the last 3 years, hasn't been deserving to get that certain roster spot. But then again, I'm not USA Basketball. They make the final decisions. It's probably going to be up to Coach K and Jerry Colangelo, so we'll see where that goes. Moving on now, we're going to go to, obviously, another big story, the Golden State Warriors. They are now 21-0. They've won their last 25 games, 24 games, counting the last three wins in the NBA Finals. Will, I gotta ask you, how good are the Golden State Warriors?
Well, there's a couple of different ways you can answer that because you have to understand, you have to take into account the context of the style of play that we see nowadays in the space and pace era where you cannot hand check players anymore. Okay, I wrote a piece a few months ago on hoopscritic.com, and I still contribute there from time to time. But it was about Steph Curry. It was about legends that may not translate, going back or going forward. I talked about Bill Russell as well too, and Havlicek because Havlicek's not a guy who wasn't athletic enough to play against the wings in today's game. So, but I talked to him about Steph, and you see Steph. He's got incredible handles, and he's the best shooter. He's got the best combination of handles and shooting that we've ever seen. There's no question about that. But he's $160 soaking wet. So going backwards, if you put him in the league, in the late 70s and the 80s, I don't think his numbers are going to be quite as good. I'm not even sure that because he shoots from so far away from the basket. The style of play was so different back then that coach would even want him on the floor to allow his game to develop and blossom the way that it has. And then also got to look at the context of the team. They built this team around Steph so that he can succeed. And you looked at his numbers early on in his career. He was good. He wasn't great. Now he's phenomenal because this team invested wisely and put the type of players around him and the style of play around him to make him be the absolute best player that he can be. They put him in the most comfortable situation. And that's what you do when you have a great player. So that said, this team as a whole, it's incredible. Does it translate going backwards? Are they better than the 96 Bulls? I don't know. we got to pump our brakes a little bit and see how the rest of the season plays out. But what we're watching is a brand of basketball